Marvel, I'm not angry. I'm not angry. I'm just, well, I'm disappointed. I mean, of all the bonehead, stupid, nonsensical bullshit you people have pulled in the past, this one just, this takes the fucking cake. But in the words of a great man, the line must be drawn here! This far, no further! So, Marvel, I ask you, how do you give Nathan Fillion a cameo in this movie and not make him Nova? It's bad enough DC screwed him out of playing Green Lantern, but now you're denying him his birthright. His absolute birthright! To play a Marvel hero. Well, for shame, Marvel. For fucking shame! Oh, and the movie was pretty awesome. Yeah. Do you guys think I hated it? What? I thought it'd be funny. How'd you guys all look when you were freaking out? It's pretty noteworthy that this adaptation of the Guardians of the Galaxy comic book is Marvel's riskiest project to date. Make no mistake, while Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, The Incredible Hulk, and the Avengers were by no means small undertakings in the MCU, they weren't financial risks. These characters have an incredibly big and undying fan base. These films were all pretty much guaranteed to be profitable on the names alone. It's just a plus that some of them managed to be pretty damn good movies. These days, even something that is utter crap like Iron Man 2 or Transformers or this fucking pile of absolute garbage can make a shit ton of money just because they are titled Iron Man 2, Transformers, and this ridiculous fucking piece of garbage. Yeah, it's a pretty sad world we live in, isn't it? If this movie makes any money, it's because of the title. Because it sure as shit isn't for the laziest fuck plotline and, oh god, fuck it in the eye socket. Sorry. Case in point, a couple years back when Marvel was announcing their movies for Phase 2 of their cinematic universe, everyone pretty much had this reaction when they listed off Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh boy, oh boy.
All right.
What's that?
Beats me. We didn't have that in school.
What?
The general public is aware of figures like the ones I listed earlier, but Guardians of the Galaxy was something that people actually had to look up just to see what the hell it was. The comic itself was so B-list that even a lot of Marvel fans didn't know what the hell it was. I know, because I was one of them. So putting their faith in an adaptation of a comic book that wasn't as well known as their previous properties was a pretty risky move for them. However, an even riskier move was hiring James Gunn, who had previously butchered 2 screenplays for Scooby-Doo, to not only write the film, but direct it as well. Now, I don't want to put down James Gunn too much. He did win 2 Razzie Awards, but they were for movie 43, which he was one of 14 directors on, so yeah, I don't care. And the man did give us Slither, which was a very nice send-up to old-school B-horror movies, and of course he did write the remake of Dawn of the Dead for Zack Snyder, which turned out to be one of the best horror remakes of the last 10 years. Super was very hit and miss for my taste, but I'm getting off track here. Regardless of these accomplishments, James Gunn isn't exactly much of a critical darling, so putting their faith in him was either going to make or break this movie. I mean, let's just look at the lineup of directors we've had, shall we? Jon Favreau, Kenneth Branagh, Joe Johnston, Joss Whedon, Shane Black, James Gunn. You see where I'm going with this? Thankfully, though, everything with this movie turned out so much better than I ever expected it to be. Now, before I get into why I love this movie so much, there is an issue. You know what? No, scratch issue. There is a fucking cancer going around the goddamn internet right now. An absolute cancer. And I feel, as someone who feels very strongly about this cancer, I should address this. Recently, a critic known as Confused Matthew started ranting about how much he hated Guardians of the Galaxy, and is even at the complete opposite spectrum of myself, calling it one of the worst films Marvel Studios has put out. Yes, you all knew this had to be addressed, sooner or later, now it's time to take your medicine. I am, of course, talking to you. Yes, you. The asshole sipping your banana broccoli shake, swinging your torch, singing I'm an Oscar Mayer wiener, while sending confused Matthew a shit ton of hate mail and death threats. What the fuck is your problem? What is your deal? Ever since this man displayed his honest opinion on this movie, just about everyone on Facebook, YouTube, and even Matthew's own site have been lambasting him for his honest opinion. He didn't like it. So fucking what? I'm gonna tell you about this thing called the library. And in this library is a thing called a dictionary. And if you look in this dictionary, you will find a little word called subjective. That is what movie reviews and furthermore opinions are. All opinions are subjective. I am no more right for calling the Avengers good than confused Matthew is for calling the Avengers bad. If you don't like his opinions, stop watching him. It's really getting old. You can sit there and say, oh, well, Adam, you make fun of Spidey 2065 all the time. How are you any different? Spidey 2065? Joel Torero is my friend. I don't rip on him to be a complete trolling asshole like most of you are doing to Matthew. I rip on him to mess with him like most friends would do. As his friend, it is not only my right, but my sworn duty, as far as I'm concerned, to rip on him. You don't know Matthew. I don't know Matthew. So, yeah, you guys ripping on him just comes off as you being complete assholes. He's not doing it to scream out, hey, I'm still relevant. He's doing it because it's what he likes to fucking do. It's the same reason I do it, and I'm pretty sure it's the same reason most critics in the world do it. I want it known that I am a fan of Confused Matthew. I personally think he's one of the best critics on the internet right now because he will change his opinion for no one. He will tell it like he feels, and if no one else agrees, then who the fuck cares? I recently did watch his review of Guardians, and while I did not agree with him on this film, I still got enjoyment out of hearing his opinion on it. He still displayed his opinions honestly. Newsflash. That is what a good critic is supposed to fucking do! Another movie we completely disagreed on was Man of Steel. But he commented on my review, saying that while he didn't agree, he still liked watching it. He is willing to hear other opinions out, yet it seems like everyone is still willing to chastise him for, God forbid, having a different view than everyone else. In closing, constantly berating Matthew for his opinions is not going to change his opinions. So for my closing line, as Matthew would say, fuck this bullshit. Anyway, on to the reason you clicked on the video. Guardians of the Galaxy is, in my opinion, one of the best Marvel films to date and the best comic book film of the year. After seeing the trailers for this film, I went in with very high expectations, and this film didn't just exceed those expectations, it fucking shattered them. Marvel has never made a space opera of this magnitude, and before you ask, no, I don't think Age of Ultron will top it. That's just putting that out there. I can't really say enough about how much I love this movie, but I'm gonna do my best. The Guardians of the Galaxy are a group of outlaws who come together for purposes of financial gain, but eventually band together to take out the villain of the film, Ronan the Accuser, who wants to destroy all life on the planet Xandar. They find connections through the fact that they have all either lost everything or just have nothing in general. I gotta say, it would have been very easy just to start the film with all of them already being friends. But no, at the start of this film, these five completely hate each other, but end up coming together towards a common goal before becoming friends. There is a lot of fun to be had with these characters as they proceed on their journey, and seeing them become the family they become brought me absolute joy. Chris Pratt is hilarious as Star-Lord. His introduction scene is nothing short of perfect. The opening title sequence of the film, which has Star-Lord on this dangerous deserted planet while dancing around to Red Bones Come and Get Your Love, it just sets the tone for the rest of the film. He will constantly encounter endless amounts of danger throughout the film in his own unique way, as will the rest of the Guardians. Zoe Saldana brings a lot of depth to the film as Gamora. I really liked and cared about this character. And yes, before the fanboys ask, they do bring up Thanos, but that's actually a problem I had with the movie. I don't think Thanos should have been here. It was obvious he was just here to get a fanboy squee out of the audience, and overall he was pretty pointless. I think it would have been great to just have him be mentioned instead of showing him for 2 very short-lived scenes that didn't really have to be there. Not to mention, he didn't look real. It was obvious motion capture, and not the good Dawn of the Planet of the Apes motion capture either. Whereas in the Easter egg for the Avengers, it was obviously a guy in makeup, and it looked incredibly convincing. I wish they would have just done that again. So, yeah, it's kind of nitpicking, but I didn't care much for that. However, the stuff they do regarding everything else is so damn good, it didn't bother me the first few times I saw it. Yeah, this is something I noticed the 5th time I saw the movie. Batista as Drax. Goddamn. I was really worried about them hiring a wrestler instead of, a trained actor to play this role, but wow. I did not expect Batista to be this good. He's funny, he's badass, he's mysterious, and he actually made me care about his character. His character has probably the most depressing backstory in the entire film, and you definitely feel the pain he's going through. There is one point where he puts everyone's lives in danger just so he can get his revenge. That's how twisted he is. This was a great character. Groot is a tree of few words voiced by Vin Diesel. And I was very happy to see Diesel do another voiceover role after his great performance in The Iron Giant back in the day. Groot is like the Chewbacca of this universe, and every scene with him is either heartfelt or hilarious, and sometimes both. Now, we get into Rocket Raccoon. Oh! How does one describe the epicness of Rocket Raccoon? Imagine if Dr. Insano injected a raccoon with the DNA of Han Solo, Ash Williams, Raphael from the Ninja Turtles, and Roddy fucking Piper. Yeah, you have probably the most badass character that a science fiction movie could possibly conceive. Bradley Cooper nailed this role. There was not a thing wrong with this character. When I saw him, I didn't see CGI once. I saw Rocket fucking Raccoon. Not only does he get the funniest lines in the movie, there are scenes when you genuinely care about him. This character was so well adapted, I am dying for the sequel just so I can see more of him. In regards to the villain, people have had a big problem with Ronan, saying that he's just another generic bad guy and that he's no different than most other villains we see in most comic book movies, but I really don't see it that way. While I can see fans getting angry that his character is very different from his comic book counterpart, I didn't see him as just another generic bad guy. This isn't a guy who wants to rule the Earth as a god. This isn't just some random nothing with electro whips who wants revenge for motives that don't make any goddamn fucking sense. And this isn't just a darky elf villain who wants to turn off the lights because he likes things to be dark for his own darky reason. Fuck that movie hard. Ronan is a genocidal psychopath. He doesn't want to rule everything. He doesn't even want to rule the galaxy. He wants to ethnically cleanse a particular species and destroy them for good. This is the Marvel Cinematic Universe equivalent to fucking Hitler. Yondu is another complaint I've heard about. Yondu in the original comics from the 60s was the leader of the Guardians, and radically different from his movie counterpart. However, making him the guy who trains Peter Quill from childhood and teaches him how to be a thief, I felt was a nice touch. Having the old leader be the mentor and teacher of the new one was a good idea. Not to mention, regardless of the incredible difference, Yondu, played by Michael Rooker, is fucking awesome. He's funny, he's mean, and gets a few moments to shine as a badass. I don't know, it didn't really bother me. What did bother me, though, was Nebula. Oh, not that Karen Gillan gave a bad performance. Oh, no, fuck no, she did a great job. But after watching the movie several more times, she's fucking pointless. They definitely could have held this character off for a sequel, and her rivalry with her sister Gamora, while mentioned, isn't explored enough to really be considered a viable plot point. It's just kind of there. Again, she wasn't a bad addition to the movie. I don't think her being in the movie makes it any less awesome, and I thought she did a great job. I just didn't feel like she belonged here in the context of this story. My final issue is, well, why does every single alien race in this movie speak perfect English? I know it's kind of a nitpick, but when I look at shows like Star Trek or Defiance, or even Firefly, that have created all these different alien species and have given them their own languages and created this unique world, it's very hard for me to ignore. They go to so many different places in this movie and encounter dozens of alien races, and they all speak perfect English. Personally, I think they missed a golden opportunity to develop a new language for fanboys. It's not technically a problem with the film, it's more of a personal problem with me as a sci-fi fanatic. The special effects in this movie are nothing short of breathtaking. I was so entranced by the sheer wonder of it all. The action, incredibly well shot and executed. I especially loved the nod to asteroids in the film's climax. In fact, in this film, there's a lot of nods to popular nerd culture, ranging from Ranger Rick to the Great Warrior, Kevin Bacon. For example, in the beginning, Peter Quill's mother tells him that his father was like an angel burst out of pure light, which is an obvious reference to John Carpenter's Starman. Starman, Star-Lord, get it, got it good. But the best thing about this film, and what makes it so unique, and more unique than any other Marvel film to date, and even people who hate the movie have agreed to this, is the soundtrack. Redbone, Blue Swede, The Runaways, Marvin Gaye, the Jackson 5. Now that's a soundtrack. I love how this movie incorporates the wonderful songs into each scene, and I love how they went with these choices as they can now introduce this new generation to some good old school tunes. I can only hope that this new generation burns every single Demi Lovato album. It needs to be done! Please! For the good of humanity! My favorite song incorporation was probably Hooked on a Feeling, playing during their incarceration. Because it's not even so much that they played the song, it's that they played a love song during a prison scene. I mean, just try to imagine if this song was the opening theme to Oz.
All the good love, when we're all alone, keep it up, girl, yeah, you turn me on. I'm hooked on a feeling, I'm high on believing that you're in love with me. I'm hooked on a feeling, and I'm high on believing that you're in love with me. I said I'm hooked on a feeling, and I'm high on believing that you're in love with me.
Overall, what else can I say? Guardians of the Galaxy is not just a good Marvel film, it's a great science fiction fantasy film, one of the best I've seen in a long time. It reminded me of the old days watching films like The Fifth Element and Star Wars. It was everything I wanted it to be and more, exceeding all of my expectations for it. Guardians of the Galaxy is the most fun Marvel movie ever made, and the most fun I've had at the movies in a very long time. In the end, I'm giving this movie a solid A+. Why? Because despite the problems I had in some parts, those problems seem incredibly minor in the grand scheme of things, and it took quite a few viewings of this film just to even notice those problems. I don't think this film is perfect, but it is such a fun movie, I could care less about its imperfections. So please, comment, let me know what you thought about this movie. And if you like this video, hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more.